Hey, you should have just watched a video on note taking. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to have you go into your Apex and you're going to take notes on one of your courses. So I have it open to Algebra 1, but it doesn't matter. You can do this on whatever course you're on, okay? And this is how you're going to go about it. You're going to open up a new tab and you're going to go to your Google Apps and you're just going to create a blank document, okay? So if I click on that, I can do a blank document, really easy, okay? And while that loads, I can come back here and I'm gonna go ahead and go into the first study. Study is really where you're learning the things, okay? And this study is called Rational and Irrational Numbers. So I'm just gonna grab this and I'm gonna drag it up into my doc and drop it in there, okay? So I can just drag text right up in here, okay? Now, the other thing that I notice about this one is that I have these whole numbers, real numbers, percents, this image. So I could come here and copy the image, and then I can come over here and I can paste the image in. I just use Control V and Control C to do that, okay? Or I use Control V to paste it, okay? So I have this image, okay? So of course you can totally do this, and this is this is a very easy way for you to take notes, okay? Classes also have a study guide. So if I click on the study guide, you'll see that you do get some guidance of the things that they think you should write down. So they think you should have all these definitions and you should be able to do all of these things, right? So I each teacher has different rules about what you need to do as far as the study. To me, you could definitely grab the vocabulary and to change a fraction into a decimal, you divide the top by the bottom. I already know that. So I'm not going to write that down because I already know that. Every fraction can be written as a decimal or a blank decimal, a rational or irrational, terminating or not terminating decimal. Anyway, we have all these examples in here to look at. So what I would do if I were you is I would go through this in your head and see if you know these things. And if not, then you need to make sure you have the answers in your study guide because this is literally what your quiz is going to be on, okay? So I'm going to keep going through here. I want to show you a few other tips that we could do, okay? So one thing is know that your vocabulary words are all defined here. So I can come here and I could drag up the definition of the word decimal. Now it came up looking very funny, but that's okay. I did want it below my picture. Let me move my picture up because I want it to be up here. There we go. Okay, so now it's below the words and I'm just dragging stuff in, right? So I've got a definition in here. What else might I want to know from this class? I'm going back to the course, close. So right here is where it tells me a decimal is either terminating or repeating. And I have this chart. And that's another thing that you can just drag up here and drop up here. Okay. So I'm going to go down underneath decimal. So notice how I'm watching where I'm dropping it. And that came up looking all big and stuff, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. It doesn't always have to look pretty. It's my notes, right? So I can totally drag that up. And I keep going back to this study sheet. Okay, so now I'm going back to this. I want to point out to you that you have your mathematical practice. These are things that you can interact with. So this is going to give you some practice in the math that is behind this. This is a little bit of a review, okay? So this is talking about the different ways that you can show repeating numbers, right? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next one. And I have this graphic that tells me that real numbers are rational and irrational numbers. Rational numbers are ones that can be written as fractions. So these are all rational numbers, right? Irrational numbers are the ones that don't repeat. So let me see if I got that right. Irrational numbers cannot be written as terminating or repeating decimals. The decimals go on forever without repeating. So this is the big meat of this lesson. So I'm going to make sure I grab this vocabulary term. Okay. Okay. So we can also grab images. So what I want you to do, now that you've seen me do this, is I want you to take a little bit of time and I want you to go through and do your study, right? Go through it, interact with all the things, okay? One thing that I would say is a really good idea is to come in here and do this and find out the right answers. So even if you don't know the answers, make sure you interact with these interactives. And if you were to want to have this in your on your notes, you could come here and copy image and come up here and paste your image in, right, with your Control V. So you can take screenshots, you can take pictures of the interactives. You do not just have to do them there. So if it's something that you need, and a lot of this is reviewing the rational versus irrational. In fact, I might copy that because that looks really pretty. Okay, so your assignment now is to go into a study in your class, whatever your class is, okay? And I want you to take notes, okay? In your notes, you should have any vocabulary you don't know, graphics that you think will help you, concepts that you've learned. I want you to go through and really show me what an outline, right? Remember we talked about the video talked about the outline in the notes and how you would have your main ideas. Well, I would have real and irrational numbers and I would have all my bullet points underneath it. I want you to go ahead and do that and make me a list type notes. It can be totally like this. Try to make connections, try to make it cohesive. As you go through, you should be editing yourself and thinking about how to make these notes useful to yourself doing a class. Okay? So you're going to open up a Google Doc, you're going to open up a study, and you're going to go in and take notes for it. Okay? When you're done taking the notes, you're going to click up here and you're going to make sure that these notes have a name, right? So when I clicked up here where it said untitled, it saved this to my drive as rational and irrational numbers. You're going to go ahead and you're going to attach this file, rational and irrational numbers, to this lesson in Google Classroom, okay? So this is what you're going to turn in for this quiz. There's no video, no Edpuzzle, no Google form for this. You're watching this video and turning in this quiz and turning in your notes, okay? And whatever class you're on, it doesn't matter if it's algebra or English or government. I just want to see notes for one study. Thanks. Have a